Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marian Ruth Marcos, and my topic is all about the Restoration and the 18th century literature and the Puritan period. The Restoration begins after the death of the Oliver Cromwell. His son Richard Cromwell attempted to assume his father's leadership position but soon proved unequal to the task. Negotiations began between the English Parliament and the son of the executed King Charles I. In 1960, the monarchy was restored and Charles II became king. The Restoration period begins in 1660, the year in which King Charles II, the exiled Stuart king, was restored to the English throne. The period from 1660, when the English crown was restored as Charles became king, to 1800s, saw the vast transformation of English society and English politics as well as significant developments within the English literature. Politically, the era followed nearly 2 decades of civil unrest and war. Only 5 years after the Restoration, the reestablishment of the monarch in England after the Puritan Revolution, England suffered an outbreak of plague. Modern estimates suggest that around 100,000 people died in London alone. Then in 1666, the Great Fire of London devastated the city, destroying over 13,000 houses, significant structures such as St. Paul Cathedral and the Royal Exchange, many warehouses full of goods and business. Some consider these true tragedies acts of God, punishment according to some for destroying God's established order, the great chain of being, by executing the divinely appointed King Charles I. According to others, the punishment was for abandoning the Puritan government and returning a licentious king to power. On the death of Charles II, his brother James succeeded as King James II. Because James had earlier publicly converted to Roman Catholicism, the religious turmoil of the preceding century was renewed. As a result, Parliament forced James II to abdicate the throne and offered the crown to his daughter Mary and her husband, William of Orange. Her uncle King Charles II had arranged Mary's marriage to William of Orange, whose mother was a sister of Charles II and James II, and who was a staunch Protestant. In what known as the Glorious Revolution, a peaceful revolution, William and Mary replaced James II on the throne and ensured the dominance of the Protestant religion of England. William and Mary also agreed to a stronger role for Parliament in the governing of the Great Britain. The age of the absolute monarchy had ended. 18th century literature. The 18th century was the age of the Enlightenment or the age of reason. In part, a reaction against the chaos that had characterized the preceding centuries, Enlightenment thought emphasized reason, rational thinking, and order. In literature, the Enlightenment appears as neoclassicism, which literally means new classicism and emphasizes order, symmetry, elegance, and structure in the arts, including literature. As apparent in the term neoclassicism, neoclassical writers, artists, and architects look back to ancient Greece and Rome for classical forms featuring symmetry and geometrical precision in everything from poems to buildings. The Augustan era of writers like Swift, Defoe, Pope, Addison, and Steele was rich in satire and new prose forms that blended facts and fiction such as news, criminal biographies, travelogues, political allegories, and romantic tales. With the restoration of the monarchy came the restoration of the theater. After being shattered during the Puritans' rule, theaters opened almost immediately. Charles II hired companies of actors to provide court entertainment, as his grandfathers, James I, had been patron of Shakespeare troupe The King's Men. Plays from Elizabeth's age were revived and new dramatists emerged, although none produced work of the high caliber of Shakespeare's age. Among the new generation of playwrights were several women, most notably Aphra Behn. Another innovation in the 18th century was that women were allowed on stage. The theater business boomed, celebrity performers flourished, and important were the authors of the plays. During the 18th century, the Comedy of Manners, a play which represents aristocratic characters exaggerating their obsession with highly society manners, social position, fashion, and wealth flourished. These plays are noted of their witty dialogue and satiric manner. The plots generally involves amorous, usually scandalous affair and the characters, a moral reaction to them. Familiar stock characters were the fop or dandy, or vain young man obsessed with fashion, and the rake, a young man devoted to wine, women, and scandalous conduct. Puritanism was a religious reformation movement that began in England in the late 1550s. Its initial goal was removing any remaining links to Catholicism within the Church of England after its separation from the Catholic Church. To do this, Puritans sought to change the structure and ceremonies of the Church. They also wanted to broader lifestyle changes in England to align with their strong moral beliefs. Some Puritans immigrated to New World and established colonies built around churches that fit those beliefs. Puritanism has a broad impact on England's religions, laws, and the founding and development of the colonies in America. Some Puritans believe in total separation from the Anglican Church, while others simply sought reform and wished to remain a part of the Church. The belief that the Church should not have any rituals or ceremonies not found in the Bible united to two functions. Number one, they believed that the government should enforce moral and punish behavior such as drunkenness and swearing. And two, Puritans did believe in religion's freedom and generally respected the differences in belief systems of those outside of the Church of England. Regarding their relationship with God, Puritans believed that salvation was entirely up to God and that God had chosen only a select few to be saved. Yet no one could know if they were among this group. They also believed that each person should have a personal covenant with God. The Puritans were influenced by Calvinism and adopted its belief in predestination and the sinful nature of man. Puritans believed that all people must live by the Bible and should have a deep familiarity with the text. To achieve this, Puritans placed a strong emphasis on literary education. Puritans in America. In 1608, some Puritans moved from England to Holland. In 1620, they bordered the Mayflower to Massachusetts, where they established Plymouth Colony. In 1628, another group of Puritans founded the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Puritans eventually spread throughout New England, establishing new self-governing churches. To become a full member of the church, seekers had to testify of their personal relationship to God. Only those who could demonstrate a godly lifestyle were permitted to join. As the religious movement in America eventually fractured into many groups, such as Quakers, Baptists, Methodists, and more, Puritanism became more of underlying philosophy than a religion. These beliefs gradually evolved into a secular lifestyle that was and sometimes is thought of as a distinctly New England mentality. Puritanism in England. Puritanism first emerged in the 16th and 17th centuries in England as a movement to remove all the vestiges of Catholicism from the Anglican Church. The Anglican Church first separated from Catholicism in 1534, where the Queen Mary took the throne in 1553. She reverted it to Catholicism. Under Mary, many Puritans faced exile. This threat in the increasing prevalence of Calvinism, which provided a support for their viewpoint, further strengthened Puritan beliefs. That's all for my report. I hope you learned something for today. Thank you and God bless.